The C stands for, like you said, creator, E for entrepreneur, O for operator, and then that S that you were kind of talking about is that speaker role as well.
Yeah.
So how have you been able to, in your playing career, kind of develop all of these traits that will make you a successful, athlete CEO when it comes to?
We only have
Mhm.
one life to live. How can we maximize our sport to drive us to things that we want to do? So I've always used sports as a vehicle to open up my eyes to new experiences.
Within being on that pro side and seeing a lot how the business of sports work, how has the money management aspect been a key tool in your evolution of being an athlete CEO?
No, that's a game changer. I think it's everything around leverage.
One of the amazing tools that you have been able to kind of showcase for athletes, which I feel like athletes honestly probably don't know about and should use more. And I'm gonna kind of name three of them that is on your consulting page, right? And the last thing I want to speak on is the athlete CEO blueprint. Simply because you were able to, in a very detailed way, kind of separate it into 7 different categories, right? And which one was one of the most important ones to build for you in the athlete CEO blueprint?
The sport, because we talk about athlete and all the things that you can do, athlete and more than the athlete CEO. The number one thing that stays in is athlete.
What's going on, and welcome to another edition of Athletes Wisdom Podcast. I'm your host and creator, Alexander. In this podcast, we go over how to build a brand, how to be successful as an athlete, and how to make sure you're monetizing your own name, image, and likeness. Today, I have an amazing guest with me. I have my guy, Amobi Okugo. This guy is, for one, a former soccer player or football, depending on what part of the world you stem from. So when he's giving you kind of these gems, he is giving you the perspective of the place that you are currently at, right? So he knows what you've gone through. He knows the trials and tribulations it is of being whether a collegiate or even a pro player, and he's going to give you all the sauce on how to build a brand, okay? This guy is also a founder of Athlete CEO and of Serve Consulting, right? So he makes sure that he's doing the necessary work that is going to make sure you're building a brand successfully. What's going on, Amobi? How you feeling?
No, I appreciate you, Alex, man. It's been a pleasure. Long time been able to link up, but finally making this happen. So thanks for giving me this space to, share my journey, and looking forward to being on your podcast.
Most def. I definitely appreciate you taking the time, man. So for the people who are not really familiar with you, right, just kind of give a quick background of who Amobi is, kind of how you started and why you serve, who you serve and why you serve them.
No, most definitely, yeah. So obviously I'm Amobi Okugo, first generation Nigerian American, former professional soccer player now. I'm still getting used to saying that, but former professional soccer player turned athlete, entrepreneur, and creator. Essentially, my goal is to help facilitate leverage through content, partnerships, and strategy. We're all about trying to make impact through connection. And that's essentially what I do now across sports business, marketing, anything, just trying to help athletes become enterprises and help brands with their go-to-market strategy.
I love it. I love it. So I know, you've recently kind of made that pivot from, athlete to full-time athlete entrepreneur. So how has that transition been for you? And what about your playing career has prepared you the most to pivot to the entrepreneurship world?
No, that's a great point. I think for me, the biggest transition is just like routines. When you're an athlete, your routine is already set in stone. You have your practice, you have your games. So now it's like when I like to say, like when you're in your second game, I have to build out my own routines. So always making sure my health and wealth is important, and not just wealth from the standpoint of money, but your wellness. What does that look like? The value of your relationships, your family, your personal time. So making sure I set boundaries and time for that.
I know that you were really like you had that entrepreneurial mindset even before, you kind of stopped playing. So when did you partner up with your partner and start, both the Serve Consulting and the Athlete CEO?
No, I appreciate that. So I originally started a frugal athlete
Hmm.
back in 2016. So that was like my first step into entrepreneurship while I was playing. And it wasn't until my last stop in Austin is when I linked up with my business partner, Adrian Camargo, just a great gentleman, one of the smartest guys that I know personally. And we really work well together.
And I love how you were able to kind of, create that acronym with CEO or CEOs, right? With
Yeah.
the, like you said, and you
Oh,
kind of
I'm all
touched on
about
it
acronyms,
for,
man.
and for the
Yeah.
people who didn't up on it, right? The athlete CEO or CEOs, right? Depending on how you say it. Uh, the C stands for, like you said, creator. E for entrepreneur, O for operator, and then that S that you were kind of talking about is that speaker role as well.
Yeah.
So, how have you been able to, in your playing career, kind of develop all of these traits that will make you a successful, athlete CEO when it comes to the creator, the entrepreneur, the operator, and the speaker? Because I know sometimes, there are certain things that you will learn, right, just from playing the sport that will transition over. And there are certain things that you might not, as easily learn or might not be as readily available just because they don't always overlap. So how are you able to kind of build those skill sets to create athlete CEO?
It's a great question. I think for me personally, because I take pride in being a multi hyphenate. Like I'm jack of all trades, and a lot of people say jack of all trades, master of none. But I
Hmm.
always follow up with jack of all trades, master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one, because
Yeah,
that's
I
the
like that.
original quote.
Hmm.
But so I innately was always trying to do a lot. We only have
Hmm.
one life to live. How can we maximize our sport to drive us to things that we want to do? So I've always used sports as a vehicle to open up my eyes to new experiences, new learnings, different insights, and just innately, by force through sports, I've been able to do a little bit of each of those things that we talked about in the athlete
Hmm.
CEOs. So innately, you have all these skills from sports. The greatest teacher in the world is sports. How do you translate and apply it to whatever it is that you want to do next? More importantly, while you're playing, because you can never play forever. So, how
Hmm.
can you use sports to identify the athlete CEO framework?
So one of the things I kind of wanted to touch on, right, and you said it a little bit, about it as far as the entrepreneurship aspect of, the CEO moniker. And I wanted to ask, how has being a pro, right? Because I feel like being a pro, you obviously get paid, right?
Yeah,
So within that, you have, before, these collegiate athletes technically NIL came in, right? They weren't able to get paid, but now they are. So they have to learn at a much sooner. And I love the fact that for one, you broke that down very, very well, but then also the fact that you said it's like a stepping ladder in a sense, right? You can, depending on your brand, start at that brand partnership level,
yeah,
but more oftentimes than not, you are going to start off on the free product on the affiliate, right? So can
yeah,
you just touch on like a quick point on why it's important to build up, right? I obviously know why, right? It helps
yeah.
kind of add to your resume of sort, right? But as a former pro athlete, right, and collegiate athlete, right, kind of explain why it's good, especially in these beginning stages, and how you can kind of pivot that to get to say that at least that third level of the brand partnership.
No, most definitely. It's proof of work, it's proof of work for sure. Especially so say if I'm trying to develop a brand partnership with say, let's say something there's a company like Lemon Perfect, for example.
Hmm.
And they're like, all right, what brands have you done? And it's like, oh, I haven't done any brands. I just have a lot of followers. Sometimes you need that proof of work to help with your negotiation, with your leverage. So the free product, the affiliate deals, especially the affiliate deals, because
Hmm.
it's basically eat what you kill and you have more creative control. Sometimes you have guidelines that you have to stick within in terms of the type of content that you can post, but it's uncapped essentially when it comes to affiliate deals.
And the last thing I want to speak on is the athlete CEO blueprint. What
Yeah.
was one of the most important ones for you in building besides your brand, right? I know the brand is obviously going to be one of the more bigger ones, but besides your brand, which one was one of the most important ones to build for you in that athlete CEO blueprint?
The sport, because we talk about athlete and all the things that you can do, athlete and more than the athlete CEO. The number one thing that stays in is athlete. You got
Hmm.
to keep the main thing the main thing. And obviously, you're not going to be able to play forever, but while you play, might as well maximize it to the best of your abilities.
You love your sport. It obviously doesn't feel like a job, right? But at some point in time, right, it's what you are getting paid to do or want to get paid to do, right? And if not, you still have a scholarship or other, as a college athlete, a collegiate athlete, you still have other, obligations within that it still requires you to be, the person you're going to be within your sport, whether that is you have a capability of being the top 1%, or maybe you're not the top 1%, right? And there's nothing wrong with not being the top 1%, right? Sometimes you just can do the best you can do with your abilities, but you always have to focus on athlete first when being an athlete, besides obviously the student aspect when you're in school. So there was something you said on your page, right? And you were saying it was the 6 classes that athletes need to take, right?
Mhm.
Kind of go over those 6 classes and why they are important.
Most definitely. So first and foremost, I would say public speaking class.
Hmm.
The better you can eloquently get your point across, the better you can get opportunities. The more opportunities will come your way.
So I wanna ask you this, right? If there was anything that you'd want the audience to take away from this, right? And you wanted them to hear it in 60 seconds, what would you tell them and what would it be?
Well, I would say every athlete, individual is a game changer in their own right. You just got to understand how to leverage your unique skills to make high quality impact and connection. Whatever it is, you have innate abilities and your insights and experiences are of value to someone. Just how can you build it? It doesn't have to be you don't have to be the next Amazon. You don't have to be the next Tesla, but there's something that of value with your unique skills and experience and insights that people can connect with and people will be impacted by. So how do you leverage that for opportunities?
I love it. I love it. And go ahead and let everybody know where they can follow you at on if they wanted to, ask you questions or, maybe even utilize your services in the future.
Oh man, I appreciate you for giving me a platform. So yeah, I'm Amobi Kugo. You can find me on all platforms, mainly LinkedIn, Amobi Kugo. On socials, Amobi Says, AMOBISAYS. Check out athlete_CEO for all information around athletes and their entrepreneurship and business ventures and insights.
Well, Moby, I definitely appreciate you taking the time to come on, man. I know I learned stuff myself, right? And I'm definitely glad that you're able to kind of share your insights and your experience to the athletes in this audience. So look, if you haven't already, please make sure you go ahead, like, subscribe, follow my guy Moby, because I promise you the information he's going to give you is just going to continue to help you build and become better. So we'll see you next time, and let's go.